Hi everybody, it's Peter Nowland from Halifax and New Age Sharpening, and today I want to talk to you about something a little different than I've been doing. As you know, if you've ever watched my videos before, I truly appreciate that. I don't take it for granted, and I often wonder, why would people watch my videos? I've never even introduced myself. You don't know anything about me, but just so you know, I started sharpening knives about 40 years ago. That does not make one a good sharpener. But it does mean that I've made a lot of mistakes, more than anybody probably. And but I would say it's easy. 30 years, we're just trial and error, making mistakes, learning from them, and trying to improve, and just feeding my obsession. And it wasn't until the last 10 years that I met some great people and really learn more, and I'm still learning, of course. But anyway, that's my history. I retired from the Navy, and this is all I do now. Every day I sharpen knives, and every day I try to learn something. So one of the things that, and sharpeners know that along their sharpening journey, we soon realize that getting a knife sharp is not the is often the easy part. It's all the little other elements that come into play that we learn about. We hear about and read about and learn about, and toothy versus polished edge, about edge retention, and about strops and sprays and all the little things that come into our world. And one of them is thinning a knife. And mistakenly, I used to think that, and believe me, I am no master thinner. I'm not even close. So the purpose of this video is for me to improve my thinning abilities, because I'm hoping that some of the people who are smarter than me in this are going to watch this and give me constructive criticism. I've asked them for that. I've learned a lot from some of the folks like John Broida and Kevin Kent and guys like that, and just have utmost respect for them, and they're kind enough to give me some brutally honest criticism that I just love. So one of the things is thinning. One of the things I was weak at. So, and it's because I used to think that thinning was an option, was something that you could do if you wanted to upgrade the performance of your knife, but it really isn't an option. It's something that all you should really incorporate and think of it. It's just part of the sharpening plan. Thinning comes along with it. So what is thinning? Why do we actually need to thin a knife? No, we don't need to thin a knife. We can sharpen a knife. We can make any knife sharp without ever thinning it. It can still be sharp at the primary edge. However, that over time, as this knife, if we keep sharpening a knife like this, it becomes, we're moving up into the blade of the knife where it's thicker and thicker. So if we continue to do this, we're just making a sharp edge that doesn't function. It wouldn't cut through a carrot, for example, or it's just going to be bad to use. So what we want to do is maintain this geometry behind the edge by thinning as we go along. So often though, I get a knife that's 10, 15 years, never been thinned, or it's been sharpened but never been thinned. So it's a more of a dramatic thinning process. But that's often has a dramatic impact on the knife too. So what I used to do was think of thinning as a process where you remove metal directly behind the edge of the knife. But in speaking with my mentors and the folks that are smarter than I am, as I said, I've learned that this doesn't really have the impact on thinning that you can. So what we do, thinning, first of all, we have a primary sharpening angle. Well, I mean, in a sharpening angle that we normally sharpen the primary edge at. Let's just say for this knife it's 20 degrees. Well, I would just reduce that angle by 4 degrees or 5 degrees and sharpen it, say 15 or 16 degrees to impact this area here that I have marked. However, what if we took a more dramatic approach and thin this area, this entire area behind the edge? So, and this is what we should be doing. This is what I'm going to try to do here. This will have the most impact on your knife. Now, comes at a cost. As you're doing this, and how do we do this? So, if the sharpening angle is here, my old thinning angle was just slightly more acute. However, the correct thinning angle, when I'm learning to be the correct thinning angle, it's way down here, about 2 to 4 degrees. So you're way down by the almost touching the blade of the knife. Excuse me. So what this means is that, and we're working with very coarse stones. My coarsest stone here is 220 grit. So this means that the blade, as I'm working on it, is going to touch that stone. Okay, so you're going to scratch it up here. So how do you what? So how do I handle that? Well, I just make sure that my customers know who, if they want their knives thinned, there may be some scratches that I may not be able to remove all of them. I can get some out, and if you've got the right sanders and the knowledge and stuff, you can get rid of everything, that all the scratches that you put in the blade here with the right stuff. However, I don't have all the right sanders and all the belts, so I just do my best to educate people that it could happen. And so if you can put up with a little bit of scratches, you're going to have a dramatic improvement in the quality of your cutting by thinning the knife. So this is the first part of this video is just to demonstrate, just tell you what thinning is. So thinning is actually just removing metal behind the up into the way behind the edge of the knife, not just behind the edge, but well behind it, up into this area, so that we reduce the thickness of the blade. So you can actually thin brand new knives. Often brand new knives come way too thick, and we can just knock the shoulders off there and make it a better cutting knife. So what I'm going to do in my video is show you how I'm going to actually work on this knife to hopefully improve the. Now this isn't a really thick knife, but it's just something I have that I'll demonstrate it on. Thank you very much. Hi everybody. So I'm actually going to thin this knife now. The first part of the video was just a bit of a lecture type of thing, what thinning is. So this part I'm actually going to see if I can actually do what I was talking about. So as you can see, I've painted this the edge, the area that I want to thin up here. Now there's several steps to thinning. First of all, you have to look at your knife, and see, okay, what area how much do you want to thin, and what's your approach? How are you going to approach that, and how are you going to deal with it? So that's obvious. You don't want to, and you can't, you want to make sure your blade is not bent or warped in any way, because I don't know how that would be pretty tricky to thin the knife if it's warped. I mean, you're not going to have an even thinning process, that's for sure, nor sharpening process. So you thin, then you deal with the scratches, however the best way you can. Whether you've got a nifty belt sander type of device with Scotch-Brite pads, and where you do that, or you just use wet dry sandpaper and various grits like I do. But at some point you need to deal with, you're going to scratch this blade up here, and so you do have to deal with it. So, and then you sharpen it. I have found that every time I thin a knife like this, the actual sharpening process comes pretty quickly. It doesn't take long to raise a burr. So let's get on to this now. So I'm using my 220 glass stone here, sharpened glass stone. I'm going to, remember, so if my sharpening angle is up about 20 degrees, my thinning angle, which I used to do before I was enlightened, was only a couple, 3 or 4 degrees more acute than that. So that's too passive. That's too passive in the form of thinning, I think. So what I'm doing now is lowering that again. So my angle is much more acute. It's up to down to about 2 to 4 degrees. So here we go. Let's see if that happens. Finger placement is critical here. I'm not sharpening a knife. I want to thin it, so I want to thin up here. So my finger's going to go up here because the thinning is taking place below my fingers. I'm using moderate pressure, and my goal is to remove that marker. I'm going to slow this down a bit. Now this area of this particular knife is very difficult to get to me, so it'll probably take several thinning sessions before I can get it all. So for the purpose of this video, I'll have to miss a couple areas back there. But anyway, the rest of it should come along. So now you can see here that it's moving along nicely, but I'm missing up here. So how do I get to there? I move my fingers up a bit. Okay, they were down here a little bit. I'm just going to move them up a tiny bit more. And then you can actually feel it. The thinning process will feel a little different the higher up you go. Getting there. This area here a little bit more. And that should just about do it on this stone. So remember, the key that if you're sharpening somebody else's knife, well, first of all, they'll probably ask you if they'll thin the knife in the first place, but you have to make them aware that, yeah, I can do that, but you be prepared to deal with some scratches on the blade after. However, the benefits of the thinning will greatly outweigh, hopefully, some scratches up there that we can remove anyway. Okay, so we'll call that a day for this part of the thing here. You can see that I've got area up here, and I told you that area up there doesn't matter how much I do it today. That's going to need significant amount more work, but I can definitely see where I've removed metal along here. Okay, so now I would move to my 400 grit stone. 400 or 500 grit would be fine here. Same thing. I don't need as much pressure now. I'm going to just reduce some of those scratches that I put in from the 220 grit stone. I'm still thinning. So I could continue to do this. You can do this as long as you want. It's how much you want to thin the knife. Remember that this is just one side of the knife. I've got to do the same thing on the other. So there's a significant reduction in the width of the knife here as a result of what I'm doing here. So now I could actually move, just to give you an idea of what it look like. I can move up to a 1000 grit stone, for example, to just make this a little polished up here. Of course, the degree of polish that you want to attain is up to you. It's dependent on your knife and how you like it, how the customer likes it. But you could polish it right up if you want to. You're not affecting the edge here. So if I wanted to make this very, very highly polished, I could. But sometimes that doesn't look that great either. Depends on the knife. So, but definitely smooth it out there to a degree that I like it. Now I've done that. My next step would be to deal with these scratch marks. And you can see that that's finally starting to get out into there. This is just area a little bit more I have to work at. Now, I would, before I sharpen it, from a safety point of view, I would remove the scratches as best I can, and then I would sharpen it. So my thinning angle was down here. Now I'm going to be working on the primary edge, which is up here, up to about 20 degrees for this particular knife. And burr formation will happen quite quickly. Again, if you've watched my videos, thank you. And you'll know that I use different levels of pressure when I sharpen. So I'm at the pretty heavy pressure here to form this burr. And I can guarantee you that the burr is going to be there right now. So, yeah, very significant burr, more than I wanted. Remember, the smaller your burr, the better. So, and then I would just continue. Of course, I would have worked on the other side of the knife, thin that, then the sharpening, and it's normal sharpening after that. So, again, the purpose of the video was just to demonstrate thinning. So, again, I've asked my mentors to critique the video, and if they give me back any pointers, any things that they would have changed, they think have changed. I will definitely redo it. I'll redo it and improve it. So at the end of the day, we have something that's going to benefit you and me. So thank you very much for watching.